Welcome back on Kansas Sports Chatter. It is our Faces, Voices, and Writers segment, an opportunity with so many great media personalities throughout the state that cover high school athletics. This is our chance to get to know them a little bit better. Our guest today, Tejay Cleland. He is the sports director for KWCH Television out of Wichita. From Southeast Kansas, does that make you, TJ, a Northeast Viking?
I am a Northeast Viking. That's correct. My dad
Nice.
was an Arma Bulldog back in the day. My mom was a Frontenac Raider. My wife's a Girard Trojan, but I'm the Northeast Viking. So,
You're the Viking. Okay, so growing up in Southeast Kansas, when did you get the bug to jump into sports journalism?
oh man, just growing up playing sports, everybody in my family did everything, and watching my brother and watching, everything like that. I wanted to jump right into it and just never knew anything else besides playing sports. And then kind of when I got into high school, Jacob Leonard, I'm not sure if you guys have crossed paths. He's out of the business now. He works at Pittsburgh State. But just the feeling of going to a school where there's 26 kids in my graduating class and we're on the news. Like our football games are on the news, our baseball games are on the news. It's just like, this is awesome. Like I'm on TV. Like this is so cool. And so going to college, notoriously my advisor always gives me crap about it. I showed up and I enrolled as a physical therapy student because I wanted to be an athletic trainer. And then I took A&P in high school and realized that I cannot do that. And I was like, well, how else can I do sports? And I was like, well, it was pretty cool being on TV whenever I was playing. So that'd be pretty cool to do that for other kids. And so that kind of took me down that route. And it's taken me to so much more than I ever thought. I always tell people that I got into this business to watch high school football, and I've ended up going to a couple Super Bowls. So I can't complain.
Yeah, it's not a bad gig at all. So, looking at your bio, TJ, going to Newman and being part of that baseball team, and obviously jumping into kind of sports media at that time as well while you're in college, was it easy for you to determine like what specifically you wanted to do? Because I know for like many people, when you go to college, you're like you might be doing some broadcasting as far as play-by-play, you might be doing some writing and also some video production. Was it easy for you to kind of pinpoint exactly what you wanted to do with sports broadcasting?
Well, I guess in college, I would say it was easy for the fact that Newman, we have a student newspaper, and that was the only thing that we really had, basically. So I learned how to write for the newspaper, first of all, and kind of just the idea once I realized what I wanted to kind of get into with the media side of it is that I was like, whatever I can do to just find myself on a sideline at some point, like I'm just going to chase down that. So started learning how to write for the newspaper, did all that stuff. And then after about 2 years of doing that, I was like, well, I think the TV side would be pretty cool just because growing up, obviously I like watching TV more than I like reading. I'm an average human, I guess. So I was like, I'll try that out. I did an internship back at KOAM back home, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is really cool.
So being there at Newman in the Wichita area and then starting now at KWCH, almost going into year 4 for you coming up in January, you mentioned, like for you, was it an easy transition? What was that hiring process like as you got started at KWCH?
Yeah, so it was pretty nuts. It's a kind of a wild story. So I was playing baseball. I stopped playing after 2 years. I was coaching a little bit that fall semester of my junior year, and I was going to graduate that spring. I coached at Newman under Drew Mouse, who's no longer there anymore, but it was a ton of fun. But I could see the writing on the walls. Like, you know what? I like sports a lot, but I don't think I'm the best coach at it. I need to find another route to still be in sports. And I was like, I'm just going to go see what I can do. Ended up just kind of looking at TV jobs, found one, applied for a couple of them, ended up getting hired at KWCH. I was originally supposed to be the Western Kansas reporter, so I was supposed to live up by Salina and cover everything off I-70 and drive all around the state. And the reason I did it is because I was going to get to cover high school football in Hayes on Friday nights and everything like that. So
Right.
took that job in January of 2022 while I was still finishing school. So I was a full-time student at Newman, and I was on TV doing that whole thing. And I was still 20 at the time too. So all my coworkers would give me a bunch of crap that I couldn't go out with them after we were done working at the end of the night. So it was chaos. I was still doing the student newspaper too, on top of reporting on TV that day. I don't really know how I did it. I don't know if I could do it if I went back and did it, but it was a blessing in disguise, I guess, because it's led to so much more. It was really fun at the time, and looking back, there's just a lot of good memories.
TJ, being from Southeast Kansas and now working at KWCH and doing what you love and get to do that, I got to imagine, correct me if I'm wrong, there's like kind of maybe a sense of pride for you because not only are you getting to do what you love, but you're also getting to be on television, in the States and even in the community where you grew up.
Yeah, I always tell people that I don't really care about being on TV. Like I would do my entire job if my face never had to be on the screen, but I understand that's the nature of this job. You kind of have to do that part of it as well. But people always talk about in the TV business, everybody always moves on up and goes to whatever city and climbs the ladder and gets bigger and bigger and aims for the big goals and everything like that. And I've talked about that, I've thought about it, but the fact of the matter is that I am from Kansas. I grew up as a Chiefs fan, as a Royals fan, as a KU fan. K-State's grown on me. I like K-State a lot now. I wasn't a K-Stater growing up. But these are the teams that I like watching. If I wasn't working at KWCH, I'd be sitting on my couch watching the Royals, watching the Chiefs. And so the fact that I get to report on these things, I take a ton of pride in that. And then obviously the high school side of it, there's a lot of ties. A lot of people around here know where Arma, Kansas is. A lot of these people know who the people that I grew up with are and everything like that. And especially, I went to a 2A high school, getting to go to, I was in Gypsum a couple of weeks ago talking to Southeast Saline, and I was like, I know what these kids are feeling like because I grew up in a 2A high school in the small town, football, Friday nights, everything like that. And so I do take a lot of pride in that. Yeah.
You mentioned, you've been able to cover some big time games already in your career. You mentioned Super Bowls and MLB playoffs and KU, K-State, Wichita State. But how much pride do you take in that coverage of high school sports? Do you kind of realize the importance of that, especially in the state of Kansas, just how important it is for that coverage of high school sports?
Yeah, obviously we talk about sometimes in the newsroom is that, you look at, other stations in different markets and everything like that. And like Chelsea Croft, for example, used to work with us a couple of years ago. She grew up in the Baltimore area, went to college up in Maryland. And then she came down here and did the whole Catch It Kansas scene. And she was like, these kids don't even understand. Like they don't understand how well they have it here. Like the situation that the state of Kansas provides for these kids compared to if these kids grew up in Baltimore, they'd never get any coverage. Like they might get the one-off magazines and everything like that. And so there's a lot of pride in giving these kids the platform that, they deserve. And there's a lot of great stories. For us, we cover right around 200 high schools in our coverage area. We go from Emporia to Goodland, and everything in that span is ours. And I've made the drive to, probably about 100 of those schools at least. I've been all over the state already. And so for them to have a chance to, be on TV, for their parents to be on TV, this is the last time that they're going to play a sport sometimes. Sometimes they're going to go on to go be an NFL player. We've seen that from Blake Bell, kids in the Wichita area, things like that. And so either way it goes, if you're reporting on a kid that's just starting the beginning of their journey where they're going to go on and have a ginormous career, or if it's, little Timmy's last high school football game ever, they're both awesome stories. And we just take pride in giving those a place to live. And there's just so many good stories.
All right, most challenging thing of your job, TJ, and a quick story here. Hopefully I can make it quick. I'm an old man, but a long time ago, I did an internship there for a television station in Wichita, and they would send me out to what was the Wichita Wrangler games, and I would go out there and I would shoot highlights or whatever from the press box up top above home plate. And the way they taught me was like I would zoom in either to the batter or maybe I'd get a little bit wider shots of the batter and the pitcher. And if he popped one up in the outfield or hit a home run, I was to follow the baseball. So like you got to track it, you got to find the baseball, track it. That to me, I thought was the most difficult thing whatsoever. What's the most challenging parts of your job?
Yeah, that hasn't changed. Baseball is still impossible to shoot.
Okay,
I'm at the point now where it's like when the batter hits one, you just go to the center fielder and see which way he's going to go. Like I have no idea where the baseball is through that little camera. You get lucky sometimes. The most challenging part, obviously we've worked so much with the cameras and shooting highlights and everything like that. I would say the most difficult part that you kind of grow on, and I think that I tell people it's kind of molded me into a better person because of this is the nightly deadlines. It's completely different than any other job outside of media. Basically, I always talk about, like if you're an accountant, could you imagine having a deadline of 8 hours every single day? Like that's what we have to do. You get into work and you have to have everything done by 9 o'clock because if you don't have it, you're going to go on TV with nothing to show. And so the internal timer and everything like that. The Friday nights get crazy. We've had the ones where the game ends at 10:25 and we have a 30-minute show starting at 10:30, and it's how fast can you do this and get an interview and fire up your live unit and just ad lib off the cuff and get something on air. It's crazy, but whenever you get it done, it's just so much fun and like gets the heart pumping, and it's the closest thing that you can find to playing sports, I think.
We'll put you on the spot here before we let you go, TJ. Most rewarding story, especially if you have a high school one, but most rewarding story that you've been able to cover since starting at KWCH.
Man, I've had some good ones. Some that just come to mind. Mitch Budke. I don't know if you know that name. He was a Chase County guy, stud quarterback, stud athlete. Ended up in an accident with a firework, and it basically, lost his hand, lost his right hand, and that was in like the fall. It was after football season. He was committed to go play football at Emporia State, and it happened that late into his school year. And by baseball season, he taught himself how to throw left-handed and swing a bat with one hand, and he was Chase County's leadoff hitter. And so stories like that are crazy. There was a story out of Elkhart about a pitcher that got into an accident where he didn't have vision in his left eye. And so when he looked at home plate, he had to turn his head extra so he could see the catcher because through his right eye. It's unbelievable. Like I always tell people, like I email every single athletic director that we have in our coverage area and just open-ended question, like what do you got? Like, what's the craziest thing? Like, who are the athletes that have overcome the adversity? And 50% of them have them, in whatever degree that may be. It may be somebody tore their ACL last year, or maybe somebody got into a something way worse or something like that, and they found a way to overcome the adversity and put it on the field. And that's the best part of the job, I think. Obviously you get to go to all these games and do all this stuff, which is obviously really cool, and it's the pretty part of the job and everything like that. But just getting to meet so many people, whether it be through the adversity or through their triumphs, and just I always tell my phone contact book is unbelievable throughout these 4 years, and I've got some really awesome people that I've gotten to know, and that's the best part of the job is the connections that you get to make throughout this.
TJ, appreciate the time. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, man.
That is Tejay Cleland, the KWCH Sports Director out of Wichita, joining us for Faces, Voices, and Riders.